let's talk about the rumored Brainiac casting shortlist. Now, Brainiac has been, I believe, 100% confirmed. Originally, it was very much hinted by the cover of the script that Brainiac would be the villain in James Gunn's Man of Tomorrow, which is some sort of a sequel, although not explicitly just a sequel, to James Gunn's Superman. This is going to feature Superman and Lex Luthor. Maybe it will be more of a Lex Luthor project. By the way, my cat Mortimer is sitting on my lap. Say hello to everybody. Mortimer wanted to be here. He loves talking about Superman because he loves Baby Joey, as I have over here. He is a huge fan, so he wants to get his 2 cents in. Okay, so like I said, originally it was not confirmed that Brainiac was the villain, but I think recently, maybe a week or two ago, an article came out that was just like, no, it's him. Which is good, because I was going to make a video. There was going to be 5 other characters that it could be. I had a bunch of other characters that are like kind of brain themed. I thought it was clever. Can't remember all of them, but it was something like Ultra Humanite, Simon, who is a main character in Salvation Run, The Brain, the villain that teams up with Monsieur Mala to fight the Doom Patrol usually. Oh, Atomic Skull, because while it is a brain, it's also a skull. And Manchester Black, because this was pretty clever on my part. Superman finds out Manchester Black's weakness by finding an X-ray of Manchester Black's head, so he figures out where Manchester Black's powers come from in his brain, and he deactivates them by kind of giving him a little teeny tiny lobotomy. Not lobotomy, but like brain surgery. And that's in the cartoon. I can't remember if that happens in the books, but either way, I was like, oh, those are 5 guys. That totally could be. Would have been a fun video, but we're not doing it because now we have 3 actors that are on the list apparently to be Brainiac. This is a list that was kind of floating out there already with some of these names. One of the names left and then another one came on. I am equally as confused by the one that left as the one that was replaced by. The other 2, I think, are very solid picks. But okay, let me back up because I've been throwing the name around a lot. Who is Brainiac? Superman villain. You may have already guessed, but like, what's his deal? I think understanding that is important, understanding which of these actors I think is more or less likely to play this character, and also understanding what kind of movie this is going to be. And I thought I knew who Brainiac was, and the more I thought about it, the more I realized I don't really know what Brainiac's deal is, and the more I looked into that, the more I now know it is because Brainiac's deal is incredibly complicated, and it changes a lot and is retconned a lot. I'm not putting him right up there with like Psylocke or some of those other characters who've had way too many retcons, but I do think the problem with Brainiac is, because DC has gone through so many reboots and relaunches and they've like stuck, I genuinely don't know where we are right now on Brainiac. But like the basic version of Brainiac seemed like he was a guy from the planet Kolu who was going around shrinking cities, and a lot of these things are pretty consistent with the character. He's an alien, he goes around, he tries to shrink cities. Maybe it's because he's trying to learn about them, maybe it's because he's trying to study them so he can save Kolu, or maybe he wants to like harness their psionic power or something. It doesn't matter, because it turns out he's not a person, he's a robot who thinks he is a person, or is at least designed to look like a person, so he's an android. But he is a like scout sent out by the people of Kolu, I believe, to gather planets. He's given a very high level of intelligence. Traditionally, he's a 10th or 12th level intellect, which is the highest you can possibly be. But then besides that, they retconned him to kind of change him into a more robot-y version of himself. But that guy actually got turned into atoms from the universe. I watched a really fun video on it by a YouTuber named Mr. Rogues about like all of the retcons and why this backstory has become so confusing. Also, apparently the word Brainiac may have come from this. Like the word brain and maniac being portmanteaued into Brainiac may have originated from this character, which I think is interesting. But okay, so essential Brainiac qualities. Very smart. Likes to shrink planets. An alien, mostly a robot, some sort of artificial intelligence from a planet called Kolu, although sometimes maybe from Krypton. Although I see the reason that I'm like, maybe they do stick with that is because that has been part of the Superman Brainiac backstory in 2 of the animated projects, the Superman animated series, and then I believe the more recent My Adventures with Superman. I'm not saying that I think that means James Gunn's definitely going to do it, but I do believe, I think James Gunn has said that he is influenced by the DCAU, the animated universe, the Timverse, as some people call it. That's the 2 Batman animated series, Superman, and then the Justice League shows. And like that version of Brainiac, which is great, and I think a version of Brainiac a lot of people like, I believe is an artificial intelligence created by Krypton, I think. But anyway, so that's the problem with this character. He's very complicated. Sometimes he's a guy. He's usually robot-ish, if not a robot. I bet the backstory they'll give him is he'll be some sort of sentient robot guy from the planet of Kolu, where technology and biology are kind of one and the same. But he has the brain of a supercomputer, and his planet was destroyed to make him kind of like Superman, so that's important. And maybe just because of like the idea of planetary destruction, Brainiac is like, all of these planets are going to destroy themselves. The only way to protect them from themselves is to shrink them down and have them for my own. That could be something he's going to do. I'm not sure, but I do think they're going to try to mirror some of the Superman backstory and some of the Lex Luthor, right? Because this is characters really is those two characters together. Because he's not just really smart, he's also very strong. He can fight. He's got all kinds of tentacles and stuff. Yeah, big cool ship that's a skull. Everybody loves that. And like I said, he's never shown up in the movies. He's been in all the animated material. He was on Smallville, and then he was a big part of that Krypton show. Somehow, I don't believe made it into the Arrowverse, which is fine, and never made it into any of the movies, which I think is kind of surprising, considering how big of a part of Superman's history this character is. Anyway, so if I had to compare how I believe Brainiac is usually played in the comics, but also in movies and cartoons and video games and stuff. He's in a lot of the video games. I would say he feels a lot like a more evil, obviously more evil, but more dangerous Vision, where he's traditionally British. He's very composed, very high-minded, obsessed with civilizations. I do think, and I don't know where this came from, besides smart characters frequently being written as kind of British, also robots frequently written as kind of British. Not all robots, like Terminator's not British, but like C-3PO's British. Like the Vision is British. Anyway, I'm only going over that because there are 3 actors that have been rumored to be in the running to play Brainiac in Man of Tomorrow. The last time this list was released, the first 2 are the same. The last one was different. He's since been replaced by, like I said, someone who I'm equally kind of confused by, but in a different way. Let's talk about the 2 that were there the whole time. So we got Kleist Bang. This is a Danish actor. I was not very familiar with him. I feel like most of you would probably recognize him from The Northman, where he played the villain of The Northman. His name was Fjolnir the Brotherless, scary dude. I think a lot of people, although I'd never seen this before, so like maybe this is more of a British thing, maybe this adaptation didn't quite make it over. There was a Dracula adaptation that seems kind of fun. It also seems kind of dumb, but like in a fun way, compared to say like the most recent Robert Eggers Dracula movie. There was a version that was produced for Netflix around 2020. He played Dracula. And from watching that performance, I could totally see it. Like I said, Danish can do British if he needs to. I'm not saying this character needs to be British either, but I think Danish robot would be a lot. I think we will accept, British as just like the default robot voice, but once you start getting a little bit, like French robot makes as much sense as British robot, but for some reason, like French robot is weird, but British robot, that's like the robot voice. But anyway, just from watching the Dracula clips, I think Kleist Bang, good pick. I think there's certain things that maybe are negatives for him. My big one is he's just not an American star. If you put him on a poster, I think most people won't recognize him. Now, that's also true of David Corenswet, and having him be Superman worked, so why wouldn't this work? Good question. And honestly, like as far as age, I don't even know how old these guys are. I think they're all fine as far as age range is concerned. I think Brainiac needs to feel older than Superman, and that's about it. Because he's an AI. Sometimes, usually. So he can be whatever age he wants. It would be weird if he showed up and he felt younger than Superman. Although that's a take, I guess. But that's not what I think they're going to do. So alright. So Kleist Bang, I have less interesting things to say about him. The other guy that was rumored that's been on both lists is Matt Smith. Now everybody knows Matt Smith from his main role, say it with me, Morbius's friend, whose name is, I've already forgotten it. Okay, his name is Milo, I think. I don't remember if his name is Milo in the movie, or if Morbius is like, I name all my friends Milo because they die really quickly, so I'm just gonna give you that name, like he has another name. I don't remember. Morbius fans, chime in the comments. But Matt Smith, also known for Doctor Who, House of the Dragon, Last Night in Soho. He's in a lot of stuff. He's going to be in one of the Star Wars movies and they cut him out. Now he's going to be in the next Star Wars movie. He was the villain in one of the Terminator movies nobody really liked, so they kept rebooting it. I don't think he really mattered, but like, that's a robot. So there we go, right there. That's a good thing. Say, okay, so most people know Matt Smith as Doctor Who. And I think House of the Dragon is pretty big now. I think that's a big role for him. And that's giving a lot of people who haven't watched Doctor Who, exposure to Matt Smith, kind of what he can do. If I had to pick 3 words to describe Matt Smith, I would say his characters are fancy, smart, and weird. If I get to pick a 4th word, it would probably be ambitious. But I don't know if that's true of like Doctor Who. That's definitely true. Some of those other characters I mentioned. But like thinking about those three things, like that's what Brainiac is. Like I said, very composed, very civilized, wants to maintain civilization, wants to study. He's an academic, but also he's got a robotic delivery, which makes him kind of weird, kind of off-putting talking to Brainiac. And these characters are all expected to be smart. I know he's been like caught stealing. He played a character who was not like a super genius. I haven't seen it, but I'm going to take a wild guess and say the character in that trailer wasn't like a super genius. But like House of the Dragon, that character is smart, even though he does dumb things. Supposed to be one of those mastermind Game of Thronesy characters. So like, I feel like Matt Smith for me is probably one of the actors, if not the actor who gets fan cast for this role the most, and has been for a while. Because I think people see him and are like, yeah, he's good Brainiac. And I think that's a fair read on Matt Smith. I think he's a good actor. I think he has range, obviously. But I think his base skill set, what most people know him for and like about him, Brainiac fits right in. Then you got the third option. So originally this was Wallace Shawn. I didn't buy that for a second. It didn't make any sense to me because he's Mixie Spitlick, right? Obviously, if we're going to get Wallace Shawn for something, he's Mixie Spitlick, the imp from the fifth dimension who torments Superman. Maybe he would have been in the movie too. But then there's the new one, and it's a guy, an actor you probably guys haven't heard of. Again, he's like Clive Bang. He's like a relative newcomer for a lot of people. His name is Sam Rockwell. You may recognize him from the Charlie's Angels movie, that first one that he was in where he's the bad guy in that, 6 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, 7 Psychopaths, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the Bad Guys movies, and also, and this is a little trivia fact people forget, he was in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in Iron Man 2, where he played a character named Justin Hammer. Now, all of those characters I just mentioned, and this is what I did when I was thinking about this, because in my head, I'm like, well, that's not how I would think of Brainiac, right? Compare Sam Rockwell to Matt Smith. I would say my 3 Sam Rockwell words are he's relatable, he's cool, and he's shifty, right? He feels like a guy. He speaks very plainly. He can be kind of ratty, and that's fine. That's part of his charm. And he is very charming. He's very cool. It's an interesting mix of like funky 70s mixed with hipster, mixed with like Southern coolness, but he's cool. And also his characters are frequently bad or untrustworthy. Now, shifty, very Brainiac. Those other 2 things though, Brainiac does not traditionally have a lot of charisma, and Brainiac is not traditionally a man of the people. Like, he could be, but like, I personally don't see it. I went through all of Sam Rockwell's IMDb just to see if I could find one role where I'm like, oh, you know what? That's kind of it. You know, like he's in Moon, but he plays just a regular guy. He's in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and he plays the president who's a weird, dumb, regular guy. He's in that time travel movie where he appears to be at least a kind of regular guy. Like, I just, as the internet's biggest Sam Rockwell fan, I believe he could do this. I think this is a pretty bizarre piece of casting. Now, I will give my one caveat here. Sam Rockwell was originally up for the role of Iron Man, Tony Stark. I think in a world where he's not Doctor Doom, I think Robert Downey Jr. can do Brainiac in a way that I think the difference between Robert Downey Jr., Tony Stark, and Sam Rockwell, Justin Hammer, that feels like the gap that I think Sam Rockwell would need to clear to get to Tony Stark, which is Tony Stark is not a normal guy. He's not a man of the people. He's above it all. He's got money. He's fancy in a way that like Justin Hammer isn't. Justin Hammer is trying to be that, but he is not able to. Now, again, I'm not saying I think Robert Downey Jr. would be perfect for this, but then in my head, I was like, well, is this something Robert Downey Jr. could do, considering him and Robert Downey Jr. were both in competition for this role? And I think Robert Downey Jr. could, but I don't know. I don't read it for Sam Rockwell. I think it feels weird. Now, like I said, I think he's a great actor. I think people, understand that now and give him a lot of credit and are, excited to see whatever he's doing. He's one of those actors for me that's just like, yeah, I'll watch that. I'll watch it and see what he's up to. That might be fun. So like, do I think he could turn in a very complicated, but maybe like un-Sam Rockwell-y performance that is still nuanced and interesting? Could his Brainiac be still very smart and calculating, but also have a little bit of charisma? Sure. I think that could be, for sure. But like, looking at Superman's Rogues Gallery, it's like, I could really genuinely see Sam Rockwell fitting almost any other character better than Brainiac. Like Cyborg Superman, Metallo, Morgan Edge, Parasite, even Mongol. Like, I could see playing more as a slick businessman, kind of like Vince McMahon to the WWE. I could see that version of the character with Sam Rockwell. But like with Brainiac, it's like he feels so unusual. Is that enough for me to be like, I want that version of the character? Yeah, no, I'd like to see it for sure, but I can see a world where it's just not great casting. Like, every actor can't play every role. He can definitely turn in an interesting performance. Matt Smith, in my head, would be like perfect for Brainiac. And James Gunn, to be fair to James, I love you, James, has made some pretty straightforward casting decisions so far. His Superman, while not like an incredibly high profile actor, was one that many fans were like, he should be Superman. His Jon Stewart is the Jon Stewart that many fans were like, I think he should be Jon Stewart. His Lois Lane is that. And like, I don't think that's bad in my head, even though I'm like, I would like to see what the Sam Rockwell version of this character is. In reality, I'm like, it's Matt Smith, right? Like, he's Brainiac pretty much. He's British. He's got all the Brainiac-isms. He is fancy, high society. He's like smart. He's kind of above it all. He's a little weird, little kooky. Has an alienness to him. He'd be perfect for it. And I was gonna say, oh, he's not jacked, but I saw that scene in Morbius where he danced around with his shirt off, so like, he could be kind of jacked. And I don't want to write off Claes Bang either, because I think just watching his Dracula performance, he could totally do it. But like, Matt Smith feels like the very straightforward choice. And when it comes to these James Gunn castings, I think they have tended to be the more straightforward choice. Jason Momoa is Lobo. Duh. But like, there you go. We're not reinventing the wheel here. And I think we're going to do the same with Matt Smith. I imagine, I don't know, a month or two, we'll learn that Matt Smith has this role. And I think it'll be cool. I'm excited for it. You know, reading more about Brainiac, reading some Brainiac stories, watching videos about Brainiac. I do think there's something interesting here with the Van of Tomorrow cast. Like, he is kind of a Superman figure. He is an alien. He is from a doomed world, kind of sometimes, and he is protecting Earth by putting it in a bubble, right? Brainiac is what Lex Luthor thinks Superman is, but Brainiac is also smarter than Lex Luthor. So, you know, I don't think it's a good idea necessarily 2 movies in to have Lex Luthor understand the error of his ways and go, oh, maybe I'm too hard on Superman. But I think if you wanted them to have a reason to team up together, setting Lex against the bad guy that he actually thinks Superman is, and having Superman come in and go, listen, I get it, you don't like me, but like, clearly we got to get him first. I think that makes sense. And like, Brainiac is a villain who would maybe humor Lex, but wouldn't take him seriously. And I think that's fun. So anyway, that's some interesting casting news. You want to see an interesting short film? Go check out The Dinner Plan by Patrick Williams. It's about a guy going to a fancy dinner, but he doesn't want to eat the food because he has food allergies. And it's about that really complicated line you have to walk in social settings, and specifically in business settings. And listen, I've been there. I worked for a company that did pretty much this exact thing. I'll tell you, it can be nerve-wracking. It could be like a horror movie. And this is a short film that contains not only Griffin Newman, but also other stars you might know, like John Hodgman, Zach Cherry, and Miriam Shore. And you can watch The Dinner Plan on this video sponsor, Nebula, which we just introduced 3-day trials for Nebula. You're like, what's Nebula? Well, it's a subscription streaming service that I helped to create. I've talked about this many times in many videos before, where me and a bunch of other YouTube creators, people that make videos about like history, culture, current events, science, all kinds of stuff. It's a very big list of what we make videos about. The Nebula is a platform you can go to watch all our videos early, ad-free. You can like download them on your phone. But like, Nebula is curated. I don't know if you guys use YouTube a lot. I do, for all kinds of stuff, and it has so much AI. And some of it's like obvious AI, right? Like a movie trailer for Avengers Doomsday, and it's all the characters just kind of turning. But there's also AI content where it is a disembodied voice talking about a news thing or character in a comic book or something. A lot of times I'll be like, what is the deal with this vigilante character? I would like to learn a little bit more about him pretty quickly, so I'll put on a YouTube video. And if I did this 3 years ago, it's like people who know what they're talking about, who are fans of the character, research the character, whatever, and they're like human beings. And I love that. Do it now. Unless you see the person's face or you know who they are, it could very well, and a lot of them are just like AI videos where the AI talks about the characters. It drives me up a wall because you don't always know it until like you're a little bit in and you're like, oh man, something about the way this guy's talking just doesn't feel right. But sometimes they just do sound right, and it's not until like you're pretty much done with the video that you're like, damn it, that wasn't a real person. And like, Nebula's got a lot of great things going for it, but one main one that I love to tell people about is it's all real people. We are making it ourselves, and all the videos getting made on it are made by us, and it's very cool. And just for the month of December, if you go to go.nebula.tv/thenandocut, you can get a year of Nebula for $30. That is less than $3 a month. We also have our Nebula lifetime memberships, which you pay $500 once and you can use Nebula for the rest of your life. And if you use my link, you can get it for $300 instead of $500. And also, the holidays are coming up. Nebula is a great gift. Like, sure, you could get someone a shirt they might wear a couple times, but for $30, you could give them a year subscription to Nebula. It supports the channels they love, and they get to watch all of our videos ad-free, which watching videos without ads is the greatest gift of all. Again, go to go.nebula.tv/thenandocut, and in the month of December, you get a year of Nebula for $30. Check it out, do the free trial, watch the dinner plan, you're gonna love it.